Ki makaurau. Rangatahi. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Flora.
Cool.
Malo. Welcome to you both. Flora, as the chair of the Youth Advisory Panel, welcome, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Cool. Thank you, Your Worship the Mayor. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. To Your Worship the Mayor and his fellow councillors. Just like to begin by just making a few acknowledgements. Thank you for this opportunity to be here to talk today with myself and my deputy Alex. Just want to acknowledge Your Worship the Mayor again for your leadership and for giving us this chance to come together as a youth advisory panel. I remember at AUT, just I think you knew you were going to win the race quite a few years back with the amalgamation, and your promise was to ensure that young people would have a voice. We didn't know what it would look like, but you gave us that chance to come together as young people and create that mechanism ourselves. So I acknowledge you and I thank you for that. Also like to acknowledge Councillor Kufa, who should be here soon, but her leadership and personal support has been amazing for our panel. Her insight into local government and how it works really enabled us to, work through all the processes and bureaucratic processes as well. I'd like to acknowledge our council officers who have supported us immensely. We really appreciate your support in making clear all the paperwork, all the processes as well. So I acknowledge you as well. Just before I begin, I'd also like to make a final acknowledgement of, just like to acknowledge God for bringing us together and really placing in my heart the vision of, as chair, the vision of when we put the needs of our most vulnerable people first, everything else seems to fall into place. So I'm really proud that I've been able to try and continue to carry that vision throughout my term as chairperson, but also just to be a voice and a little reminder to us all that, it is about helping our most vulnerable people, and everything else does seem to fall into place after that. So I'm just going to hand it over to Alex, who's just going to share some highlights, as well as some of the challenges we've faced as a panel. So, cool.
Kia ora. Thank you, Flora. Kia ora koutou, and I'd just like to tautoko Flora's acknowledgements. I guess what I'd like to say about the youth panel, and I think it applies to all of the panels, is just the importance of us being there at the table. When we look at who engages with council, if we're brutally honest, young people engagement's not very high. When we look at who votes, who submits, who attends consultation events, young people are underrepresented, and so having a mechanism like the Youth Advisory Panel is really important just to put our voice at the table. And like our colleagues in the Rainbow Advisory Panel and the Seniors Advisory Panel said, having our voice at the table is a commitment to Auckland being an inclusive city, and Auckland Council being a council that engages with the diversity of its communities. So I'd just like to acknowledge Mayor Brown for setting the panels up to provide that mechanism for inclusiveness and engagement. And I think we still have a long way to go to building that sense of inclusiveness and engagement, especially among young people. But I want to I guess make that a challenge, that if we are committed to Auckland being a city that is for all age groups, all demographics, as well as a council that wants to represent all of its communities, then having the advisory panel mechanisms are a really important way to do that. Some of the just one or two of the highlights. I'll take the report as read, but one of the two highlights I want to draw attention to are around, we organised, during the long-term plan consultation, we organised a youth-specific consultation at the University of Auckland, focusing on transport, and we had collaborated with Generation Zero on that, and it had over 120 young people there, and it was the largest Have Your Say event in that long-term plan consultation. It was specifically for young people, and it's, I guess it just showed the value that we can add to Auckland Council, in that we can find ways to engage our communities when the other Have Your Say events weren't as successful in engaging young people and bringing young people along. The second thing I'd want to draw attention to is the I Am Auckland Children and Young People Strategic Action Plan. Having a framework within council's plans to put young people first, to set out goals to achieve for young people in Auckland has been really important, and I think having that plan in place has been given, I guess, us the mandate to kind of keep council accountable, but also for the council officers to really put young people first, and we've seen some really good fruits from that. And the third thing is around being at the table in terms of the discussions around the unitary plan, and I know that wasn't exactly it wasn't the most straightforward negotiations around that, but I think it was really important that we were at the table at that emergency meeting, and I guess helping frame the discussion around making Auckland a city that provides for all of its people. So I think challenges over the next few years are maintaining that, increasing those levels of engagement for young people, continuing to address the problems of housing and transport, and making sure that Auckland is an inclusive city. So I'd hand back to Flora to close.
Well done, Alex.
Thank you, Alex. Also like to acknowledge Alex, my deputy, has been amazing support as well. I think we're a good balance. So, and just to add on and to close from what Alex has just stated, I think the purpose of our panel was to be a voice for young people in council, and just to really bring to council the issues that young people face. And when I sit and I chair our meetings and I look around the table, it's not our young people who we often hear, but it's actually the young people who we actually don't usually hear from. And so, in support of what Alex said, we need to ensure, and I look to you guys as our guardians, as our parents and as our, support as well, that we've worked really hard in the last 5 years to ensure that we create a platform for young people to have a voice. And we not only have had a voice, but we've actually tried to be a part of creating the solution and to bring change to our communities. And one of the highlights and things I'm most proud about is that throughout the last 5 years, we've been able to create over probably 18 youth councils, which are, self-sustaining mechanism in local communities who are making change in their local communities for young people. And that's something I'm really proud about. And it's also not a challenge, but an encouragement to our incoming council as well, that please ensure that young people have a voice going forward. We need to hear from them. If we really want to make change for our young people and for our children, we need to hear from them. We need to hear their voice and hear what's relevant to them, and not to underestimate their voice, but to really, just to listen, because they do have a lot of potential and a lot to give to our society. So if I can leave it on that note, and just again thank you, and hello Councillor Cooper.
I've been listening on the live streaming.
Yeah. And just like to acknowledge her again for your support. Yep.
Tau
So
whalawa.
thank you. Malo.
Tai.
Lava.
Tai lava to you and Alex. Alex, in particular, I want to acknowledge you, as I've acknowledged Flora, for your leadership in this space and some of our more interesting and robust discussions. Well done to you and to the panel. Linda, thank you for getting here. I know that you and Councillor Penny have been very busy this morning out in Ranui, a special occasion. So great to have you here. As a liaison councillor who's worked hard in beside the Youth Advisory Panel, is there anything you'd like to add or any reflections back?
Yes, I will, if you may. And I want to thank you, Flora and Alex, for the leadership you've shown. You've got a much friendlier audience here today than when you were here last time. But you need to know how much difference that made to the young people of the city, that you came and stood up in the face of real anger and aggression and disrespect. But you know, you've grown from that, and I really it's been a privilege to be with all of you and watching you grow in your stature as citizens of Auckland. You both will be going a long way, and it's not the last we'll see of you. So thank you for having me with you.
Yeah, well done, Linda. Councillor Arthur.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to thank all the panels for the great work that's been done, but I want to emphasise to the returning councillors after the election the importance of continuing the panels. And we sit in a very unique place with UNESCO recognising Auckland as one of the inclusive cities of the world. We had that conference here last year because of those reasons, and therefore we must maintain that. And so when I hear the whispers of some people saying they want to do away with them, I am concerned. But we need to enhance them and strengthen them because there's a huge amount of work that's going out there with all our councils to bring to this table. Thank you, Worship.
Kia ora, that's a really timely encouragement. Any other comments, Councillor Alf?
Just one, just echoing the sentiments expressed to the youth panel. I wanted to add to those, but I think one of the key moments for me was at the emergency meeting that you mentioned, Alex, and how both of you conducted yourselves after the comments from the back room. So I say for me that was one of the defining moments when you and how you conduct yourself. So congratulations to you both. Thank you.
Kia ora, Alf. Councillor Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Team, thank you, and thank you to your compatriots on the panel. Have you made any recommendations for a youth panel next term as far as composition, type of composition and or work plan?
Yes, short answer. Yep. Yes, Councillor. We've done a self-review of our panel, as well as created a couple of recommendations, which include, quite a few things we've highlighted in our report as well. So, yeah.
And if I could add, we there was the review of the panels itself that was done from a consultant, which we fed into, but then in our own recommendations, we did put forward some specific areas which could improve the panel structure. One thing we identified was around representation of young Māori on the panel, and also around giving the panel a stronger mandate, I guess, to advocate as well as to advise, so that we can tackle some of the really big issues that young people are facing. So we put forward some of those. We will be putting forward some of those recommendations to the incoming mayor, hopefully.
Thanks. I think that's important that it gets air, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Councillors, well done. We've got a mover and a seconder. Oh, well, that's the recommendations. Flora, Alex, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Right,